Hey guys, as we approach slow season, this is a good opportunity to reflect on the things that are most important at the store level. And when things are going really well, we don't think about these things quite enough. And it's easy to get complacent. So I'm just going to run down. I made this page after a lot of thought because of some comments that came through on social. And I figured that it would be worthwhile to kind of list out what are the things that make me frustrated the most, um, make our customers frustrated the most, which by extension makes you guys frustrated the most. So this is a video really intended for our internal staff. Obviously, we'll share this with the franchisees as well because it's probably helpful for them. But um, I want to run down this list and hopefully it sheds some light on what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve, and hopefully it resonates uh, with all of the employees. But it was kind of tongue in cheek to call it the seven deadly sins at Costa Oil because it's really the few things that really drive me crazy when we're not executing on them. Um, so we'll just start right at the very top, and these are in order. So these are the order of things that drive me nuts. Number one is not doing the value statement. And we get some comments sometimes in the Slack channels like, "Oh, the only time we ever hear anything from you is when it's negative." We have to address customer complaints. There's no way around it. Like if someone sends us a message on Facebook, we have to address it. We can't just ignore it. All of these things over time play out in the form of car count. And unfortunately, car count's a lagging indicator. So when whether we bring a whole new staff in to replace a staff that wasn't executing at the levels that we need to execute in, the new staff ends up dealing with those consequences, which makes it doubly hard to turn that corner because they're dealing with the fallout from the previous. Now, what does that have to do with the value statement? It's usually value statement driven, right? Because I just did an article on this the other day that people are not confrontational by nature. They're not going to say something to you at the time unless you're able to pull it out of them. That's why the value statement is important because if you tell them that you topped off their washer fluid, but in their head they were sitting there and they didn't see you do it and they're thinking to themselves, they didn't put washer fluid in my tank, they're just going to not come back, or they're going to come to Facebook and say they didn't put wash fluid. And then we have to bring it to you, and then we have to go look at the video. And then if you did put it in, then we're still in the wrong because we should have told them that at the time. And it creates a very uncomfortable situation that could have been avoided if at the end of your service you did your value statement. Period. End of story. If you did the value statement, it would have avoided the whole thing. Gives the customer an opportunity to question anything, gives you the opportunity to explain the value that you provided, gives you the opportunity to explain why you should come back, gives you the opportunity to explain why our services are better than our competitors. So, the most overarching thing that drives most of the complaints that we have is usually not doing the value statement because it just avoids the chance to eliminate questions about the service that took place. I love when you guys are fast, right? A lot of people that come to us because of that service level of speed. But if you don't explain that everything is done, that speed oftentimes leads to doubt. And then when that doubt creeps in and they don't know if they can trust us, then it becomes a credibility issue and then it becomes a loss of car count. Everything always goes back to car count. Number two, this is directly related to car count, turning cars away. w- not having a filter is not an excuse to turn a car away. That's what we have AutoZone for. That's what we have accounts with Advance and O'Reilly Auto Parts for. There's no reason to turn a car away. And it's doubly bad if we're turning cars away and then not doing the appropriate follow up to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future. So, for example, if someone comes in, you don't have their filter, then you put in your order for the week and you didn't add that filter to your order, and then you get upset that you don't have a filter, but you didn't put it in. That's that is a self-fulfilling problem right there. So turning cars away is the second thing that makes me the most annoyed is when we turn cars away. Um, Especially if it's something very avoidable. So, not having a filter is one thing, but there are other times that cars are turned away and it's just never acceptable. The third one, running one bay. So we had the conversation about this in Slack internally. I didn't share it with the franchisees. This is good information for them as well. But um, sometimes it is important to put yourself in the consumer's shoes and think about how you would feel if it were you. And if you're third in line, there's a cone in the door. They see the open bay. I use this example when we were talking about in Slack, but everybody's been in that position where you've gone to Walmart and the line's been very far. You're the fifth one back. You see employees everywhere. They may or may not be trained on how to check people out. They may or may not know how to open a self checkout register. They may or may not have enough working checkout registers. That doesn't negate how you feel, though. You still get frustrated. You still, like I said this in Slack, customers are not great with grace. They're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. So if they get to you and you're like, "Hey, one of my coworkers called out, blah 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 blah," that doesn't negate the feelings that they had up until the point that they found that out. Run two bays. If you're understaffed, let them know, "Hey, it might be a little bit slower than normal, or the sickness is going around. It's sick season." People are way more going to be able to understand that rather than sitting in line and being like, "There's an open bay right there." Right? You're at the grocery store and there's open lanes, open self checkouts, and then you get up there and you realize that they were out of order. Well, you were still mad as heck leading up to that because you didn't know. So the feeling still took place, and it's not like once they happen, they happen. You can't go back and change that. Number four, not acknowledging the customer within 10 seconds, right? So this was like one of the very first things when we launched in Harrisburg that I saw frequently when I was reading the Yelp reviews about complaints about our competitors was customers saying, "I was there for 40 minutes before anyone acknowledged me." And I've said this to franchisees, I've said this to employees, like, you and I both know they weren't there for 40 minutes, but it felt like 40 minutes because it was uninterrupted, right? So we talk about the perception of progress a lot, but if you can do things to acknowledge that they're there, that buys you time with those customers. That allows them to reset their mental clock so they're not as frustrated. Again, it's almost like the running one bay thing. This is an errand that a lot of people don't like to run. We want to make it as simple as possible for them. We want to do it with credibility, we want to do it with expertise, we want to do it with speed and at a reasonable cost. And one of the things is just acknowledging the customers there, acknowledging their time. People are very cautious about their time these days because you only have so much of it. And so we want to be respectful of their time. Number five, undermining the brand's credibility, right? So this one is uh, saying things that don't align with the overall mission of the business, or something that talks bad about a process of ours, or um, anything that you might think that you're leveling with the customer. You might think that you're getting some points with them, but at the end of the day, they're not your friend, right? So they might chuckle with you about, "Oh yeah, the website says this. I don't know why they put that on the website," and then they might chuckle with you, but when they go home, they'll be like, "These guys, just like an absolute lack of credibility to do something like that," and they're just not going to come back. They're not going to be like, "Oh, that guy was so relatable, I'm going to go back." They're going to be like, "That guy doesn't even think his own company knows what they're doing. Why would I go back there?" So undermining the brand credibility in any type of way, like, "I don't know why we do this. I don't know why we do that. I don't know why we do this. The website says this. The Facebook page says that. I don't agree with it." We need this, we need that. Anything that you, again, putting yourself in the consumer's shoes, if you think would make the business that you're trying to do business with look bad, why would you do that? Um, Number 6 is excuses. That's more of a personal thing. That might be from my sports background, but I just can't stand excuses. There's a million resources at your fingertips. Like, I sometimes w- am in awe of how business used to be done with the technology that we have nowadays. Like, everybody can DM me. Most everybody can text me. Most everybody can text Brandon. We have Slack. You can message us at 1:30 in the morning. I mean, people do that, and sometimes we respond. So excuses, just like we have protocols in place for every situation. We've done a million plus cars at this point. There's no excuse for anything. There's explanations. There's always going to be explanations, but when it devolves into excuses, that's where I draw the line. And then the last thing is stealing time, money, or product, and those are pretty self-explanatory. We just got a large insurance check from the cash that was stolen in Poland last year, and that is lucky. And in my 10 plus years of doing this, most of the time theft gets eaten up by deductibles and you don't get it back. It's just gone. And since it's one of those things that you usually don't discover until after the fact, and we have to have some kind of mutual trust with our employees, um, Tanner does his best to make sure that the cash deposits are accounted for. Um, and so stealing time, there's always something that can be done around the shop. Stealing money, literally, and then stealing product, giving it away to friends and family without putting it through the register, which is actually stealing money and product. Just unacceptable. And I think everybody knows that at some level, and some people try to justify it, and there is no justification for it. So, anyway, those are the 7 deadly sins at Costa Oil, and explanations for each of them. And I hope everyone has a good day.